I think we're going to have a great time talking about all the Insurtech trends and opportunities in Latin America. My name is Alex Horowitz. I'm the CEO of HCS Capital. We are a VC out of Miami, operating in South America, in Chile, and also in Israel. And I have a great panel here to talk about all these trends and opportunities. We have people from large, very established players, startups from Mexico, from Brazil, and also from the rest of LATAM. So with that said, why don't each of you introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Sebastian. I'm from Mexico. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Sofia. We are a health insurance company in Mexico, trying to make health insurance simple and also offering coverage with care, which we think is really, really important for that vertical.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tomás Zavala. I run the corporate venture capital for a big financial institution in Chile named Consorcio, and we have been investing in the region over the last 3 years and keep on doing it and have big plans for this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rodrigo Labbé. I am from Chile, too, as well. I'm the CEO of Jooycar. We are one of the leading auto insurtechs in Latin America. We've been partnering with the carriers to give auto insurance, pay how you drive and pay as you drive products. We are already serving more than 30,000 customers, and we're now, since last year, distributing commercial auto insurance in the US powered by our telematic technology.
Hey guys, nice to meet you all. My name is Victor, physician by training, second-time entrepreneur, co-founder of Sami. Sami is a digital health insurance company in Brazil, one of the largest healthcare markets worldwide for insurance. We raised $36 million to date from most of the most active VCs in Latam. We sell directly and have been a great learning on selling direct insurance for small companies in Brazil. And we manage the care of our members, something they call in the US like HMO. So every one of our members have their own family physician, which is kind of a new concept for Brazil. Great pleasure to be here.
Great. Thank you very much, and really happy to have you here. So just to set the scene, just to remind everybody, Latin America as a whole is a fairly large economy. We are talking about a 4.4 trillion economy. The insurance sector, including life and non-life, we have about 134 billion of premium, which is a big number, but it's a small percentage. Latin America, has a penetration of around 2% of GDP in insurance, and of course the world is around 7%, and countries like China are at 4.5%. So certainly there is a tremendous opportunity to grow the penetration of insurance products. Yeah? So it's a great opportunity, and also that's why you see so much activity in VC, whether it's from the established players, from the VC community, and so on. So the first question that I was going to ask you is this sort of technology-driven revolution that we see in Insurtech, that is driven by technology and capital, that is also happening big time in Latin America. Would that be sort of the key for the insurance industry to penetrate at much higher rates, going from this 2% to 3-4%? And just imagine every 1% is about $60 billion of premiums. Well, what is your, want to start from you and give us your opinion on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is that LATAM, we tend to think about it as, a lot of different countries, but there's a lot of commonalities between these countries, I think, right? One of the things that is very salient is the fact that, there's a very high percentage of, mobile first and internet penetration in LATAM compared to many other regions. For example, it's around 70% compared to like maybe 50 to 60% in China or India. There's an upcoming middle class, right, raising and starting to think about things like their household, their cars, education. And I think that poses a very big opportunity at the macro level for the region. And the fact that there's a lot of cultural similarities, poses it as an opportunity as a whole rather than segmented by country. Of course, there's like the regulatory, I think the regulatory issues are one source of friction to jump from country to country. I think that's pretty obvious, but in fact, I think there's also advantages, for example, compared to the US where we have state-wise regulation over here, right? In LATAM, that's generally country-wise for insurance, for fintech, and that is also poses an opportunity to do this expansion quicker. And lastly, I wanted to say that I think we are, in the region, we're used to extremely bureaucratic processes when it comes to acquiring insurance or any fintech product, really. And we have a very big opportunity, given the digital nativeness of the population, to just break through that, to make things simple, to make things easy to use and easy to understand. So I think that's where the real opportunity lies right now. Yeah. What about you guys?
Thank you. Tomas, what do you think?
So my thoughts are the following. I agree completely with what you were describing. I think that the trends are there, so the penetration will be higher because of the trends that we are seeing right now. But the question for me is how can Insurtech and FinTech accelerate those trends? And for me, at least it's very simple. Basically, when you look at the need is there, but most of the problem is how do you get the product to the customer? How do you make that in a cost-effective way? And with innovation and with new technologies, mobile first, as you were describing, and so many others, what you can see is that the cost is going down, the cost to get to the customers is going down, and the cost and the actual cost of those products is going down as well. You can have a better assessment of the risk. You can do that with less people in the process, making it faster, simpler, and cheaper at the same time. So I think that the trend is there, we're getting there, and technology will be a big accelerator for that.
Excellent, thank you. Rodrigo, what is your view?
Yeah, great question, Alex. I will start by saying that the fact that the penetration of insurance is so low in Latin America, it's something that is a concern in the social dimension as well. Because there's so many people that whenever they have an accident or they have something that they do not expect and affect them in a financial perspective, a lot of them, they can move from middle class to poverty because of that. And insurance acts as a safety net for that. And when you don't have it, it really affects. So for us, for example, in Jooycar, we believe there is a larger purpose in terms of enlarging the penetration for insurance in the region. And I think the key driver for that is data. And two examples about that. On one hand, this is about us, data about different segments. For example, in auto insurance, there's a lot of people that combines the use of their own vehicle with public transportation, so they do not really use their vehicle so much. And that's where a pay-as-you-drive product comes along. And in our case, we have more than 25% of our users that really didn't have insurance before. And this is great because the fact that they're paying almost half of the price of their premium and they're still profitable for the insurance company, it gives them a protection that they need. That's data on one hand. And the other thing is that the penetration of fintechs on payment methods and all that stuff on the rest of these segments in Latin America will provide the necessary data so that Insurtechs will then come along with the ability to distinguish different segments and be able to serve them as well. So I definitely believe that this trend is going to be accelerated along the time.
The question is technology a relevant enabler for Insurtechs to increase the healthcare the penetration of insurance products and maybe health insurance products in LATAM? And I believe the answer is yes. I'll give you 3 examples of how we're doing that at SAMI. First, selling insurance. A lot of people don't have insurance because they never offered insurance to them. A lot of population that live in places where insurance is never offered to them by a broker or by anything. We're the first company to sell online, and it's not like a very AI-driven technology. It's basically e-commerce, But because of the incumbents contract with brokers, people never put an e-commerce online to sell insurance products. And we did that, and it happened the first day. I said, well, it happened, and it was almost effortless, just because we didn't have the previous commercial relationships that would prevent us to do that. We just put the website online and click here to buy, and 3 months later, someone bought for the first time. So I believe in the sales piece, there's something. Second, in the underwriting piece, the way we see a lot of incumbents, they have less data-savvy ways of doing underwriting. They say, well, this population is risky, or that kind of business are risky, or that kind of, and they just don't sell. It's like it becomes a dogma in the industry. And you can have data, as Rodrigo mentioned, like a pay-as-you-go and a pay-as-you-use, or different levels of data. An Insurtech can have, a company that's technology is born digital can have. You can offer insurance to people and companies that were not offered before, because they're just a sense of this population that are risky. So that's a second way, better underwriting. And third, a different way to deliver care. I was just talking to Luis earlier today that telemedicine was just approved in Brazil. And that changed the way you deliver the insurance, you deliver services to your members. So today, 56% of our medical needs of our members are solved digitally. So that completely changed the P&L of a health insurance company. So I'm certain that technology is already changing the penetration of insurance products in Latam, starting from Insurtechs.
Excellent. No, thank you very much. So I do get from your comments that you see the opportunity being there. That is a question of access, meaning having the distribution channels, digital channels. Interesting, because the penetration of smartphones in Latin America is one of the highest in the world. Therefore, that should help. And the other thing you are saying is about data. And many of the technologies we're using, whether it's connected cars, connected homes, are certainly going to help. Now, listening to you, it's I think becomes more and more obvious why is that the VC, my industry, is so interested in Latin America. In 2021, we saw almost $15 billion going into LATAM, over 660 deals happening last year. That was an increase in amounts of about 170% from 2020. And even though the market is a bit shaky these days, we still see a lot of deals happening all over the place. Now, I also wanted to understand how you see the market, the VC market, the investments. Are they coming or will continue to come from large funds, from the VC industry? Will they be from incumbents like yourselves, Tomás? Will it be from the family of structures that exist in Latin America? And at the end, is it going to be a question to this year, next year, and a couple of years to come? Is it going to be more around constraint on capital, that we need more capital? Or do you believe it's going to be constraints on innovation? Or actually, it's not going to be a constraint, so we're going to keep on seeing a lot of things happening and going from that 2% penetration to a 4, 5, or 6% penetration of insurance. What are your views? Why don't you start?
All right. Well, first of all, I completely believe big things will continue to happen in LATAM. As you've probably seen in the last few weeks, we're in this downturn. Well, at least the VC Twitter, and there's a lot of memos going around on how the worldwide economic downturn is actually hitting risk capital and VCs specifically. So it's a special. In my view, I mean, it's three ingredients, right? Like we have an economic downturn, we have a lot of uncertainty on the time length or the time aspect of this, and we also have well, at least in LATAM, there's always been a lot of political instability, so that's not news for us. So I think, like, in a sense, even though the news are gruesome in the current climate, in LATAM we're sort of playing a home game in a sense, right? Like we're used to being scrappy and resourceful, and I think we need to do that in the next following months while this happens. The region continues to be very interesting, don't get me wrong. I think there's huge opportunities, as we said before. But in the following months, I think we have to be like really focused and actually focused, don't burn cash as the last few years, it was very easy to do because capital was cheap. So even though there's a gruesome, macroeconomic aspect to it, I feel like the region continues to have a lot of potential, and since our opportunity is big, we are in a special position to just keep focused and go through it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when you look at the political unrest environment, it's something that we are used to. Here in the US, they are really concerned about inflation. Well, Latin America, some countries more than others, but we have seen inflation in huge numbers, and we are used to that. And we are used to seeing very good entrepreneurs who can navigate that space very successful. So that's something that we are used, and I think it's something good. Regarding the market correction, I think it's something very good, actually. I think it will be hard. It will be a bad time for many companies that are going to suffer a little bit, but it's going to help just clear the waters between the companies that will make it and the ones that will not make it. And I think that as this period passes, we will see very strong companies out there, and we will see them achieving great results and actually doing great things. And when we correct the market, and after the correction of the market, I think that what we will see is that the money that will go into corporate venture capital or venture capital, it will be more than what it used to be. Because basically, when you look at how different investors allocate their investments in terms of how much of their portfolio is in this asset class, is still a very small number, and the trend is there. So as that number gets to something closer to what we see in more developed economies and more developed regions, I think that the overall volume that will go into these businesses will be significantly bigger to what we have seen. So it's going to be a tough couple of months or maybe a year, but after that, the region is going to grow very strong, and that will have strong implications. That's my point of view. Thank you.
Yeah, I just gonna build up on what you both are saying, because I really agree. I think that it's gonna rather than a lack of capital, is more about how selective the investments are gonna be on investing on real value creation. And I think that in a way, Latin America is even more prepared than other regions for that, because it has never been really easy to raise capital in Latin America, and you have never been able to raise capital out of just a PowerPoint slide. It really has been out of value creation, and I think that after the dust is gone, as you were saying, actually we're going to see an even bigger size of investments in Latin America behind this value creation. And one other thought is about coming from VCs or corporate venture capital. I do believe that there is a huge role of corporate venture capital investing in startups in LATAM. We've had that experience as well. We welcome corporate venture capital in our startup. And the fact that they could add not only money, but also the connections and value added to what we were offering really give us a multiplying effect that I think we will be seeing more and more of that along the way.
There's the Gartner cycle for technology adoption. And there's the hype, there's the depression, and there's when you find the killer application. I believe if we consider venture capital to be a technology of a system or of a country, I believe we're seeing the same thing happening everywhere, and now maybe most concentrated in Latin America. We have seen like spike. It's going to solve everything. You get money for free anywhere, everywhere. So, and now there's like depression. Oh no, it's too high valuations and everything's changed. And I was in an event last week in the Bay Area, just Brazilians, and the ecosystem that I saw is never coming back. I mean, the number of people, number of traditional VC funds investing in the region in Latin America for the first time, learning about the geography, learning about the deals, getting their first exits, getting the first fails, and learning from that. That is never coming back. So I believe there is a healthy reset from numbers, from qualified entrepreneurs, second and third time entrepreneurs, funds that know the region, funds that was just opportunistic investing. So I believe it's just a health curve of a strong cycle of growth. So that's it.
Excellent. No, thank you very much. And I understand, clearly that you believe that there is probably going to be not so much of a scarcity of capital, because I am a VC, and to find a region in the world where you can see how insurance, or any industry, but in the case of insurance, that can grow for another 200-300 billion in the next 10 years, it's not that common. So the size of the opportunity is tremendous. And of course, that attracts capital. Of course, the capital that understands the risk is better capital than the one that doesn't. Now, moving to, and please, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to take them up here. Moving to another space, we talk about Latin America, huge economy. We're talking about 4.4 trillion with very healthy growth in many of the countries, with very large economies like Brazil, Mexico. So we see one market that sounds excellent, but it's not, right? Now, in this country, when you talk about insurance, it's like being in 50 countries at the same time. But, still in Latin America, we have different cultures, at least 2 languages. So when you look at the market, the startups, you see more startups concentrated in one country, and then that's it? Or do you see Insurtechs being able to go across countries, meaning they become at least regional? Do you see some that could actually aspire to cover the entire continent, so South America and of course North America also? What is your view on how difficult it is and how common it is to be regional or even American from north to south?
Yeah. So I think the opportunity is so big that what often ends up happening is that startups appear to be very local at first, at least for a while. And I think the reasoning for that is that, there's a very underserved market for most of these countries. So, for example, in Mexico, health insurance penetration is around 7% compared to even in Brazil. I think it's in the high 20s, if I'm correct. Not even talking about the levels of other, more developed countries in that sense. So the opportunity is so big, and the market has some uniqueness to it that you can spend a lot of time and resources solving that particular problem. Now, that being said, I do think that there's huge opportunities to go, and expand throughout the region. There's a lot of commonplace, as well as, you mentioned the cultural differences or language barriers that could be there. But we've already seen examples of how startups can go through countries. On the Insurtech aspect, there's always the regulatory side that you have to, somehow manage to, pull through that. And it tends to be a big obstacle. But once you get going and you have that that velocity behind you, I don't see why that would be like something unsurmountable that we can't get through. And there's a lot of commonplace, right, behind that barrier. So I think what we're seeing is a lot of startups beginning at a country level, pushing through that opportunity and eating up, trying to solve the problems there. That's a huge market, and then expanding through. And I think we have some examples on stage already.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I think that basically the question is not if it's by country or the whole region, is how do you get from one point to the other. And what we have seen with many different companies is that basically there are 2 different ways in which you can approach this. For most of the companies, it's basically they're starting their own country and then they start expanding. And it could be or Brazil. Basically, Brazil is very, very big market, so companies from other countries usually don't go into Brazil as the first step. Basically, they grow through Chile, Peru, Colombia, and so on, Mexico, of course. And the other side, it's basically you're in Brazil on one side, or you are in Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile on the other side. And some countries basically are the ones in which you want to grow, and there are some other countries from which you want to grow from. If you're from Argentina, basically you go to somewhere else. Many companies avoid getting into Argentina, for example. So it's two big blocks, and the key question here is how do you go from being a local player to be a regional player, because the path in which you want to grow, it's really critical to the success of that company.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you explained it very well, Tomas, because I think the answer is it depends. It depends where is the Insurtech born, and coming from there, which is going to be the logical path of expansion, as you were just explaining. However, what we have seen is that there's a lot of Insurtechs that are born with the ambition to expand across the region. And for example, in our case, we've been expanding from Chile, Peru, Mexico, and now in the US. And I think that there's a way where you can find huge synergies when doing that. Of course, there's a lot of efficiency in terms of scale, but also when you start combining the access of talent, it really gives you an edge when you think about competition. When you can be sourced, especially now with a remote-first approach, when you can be sourced about a huge talent that, in terms of, for example, technology, that is now present in Latin America, and you can leverage that, for example, entering the US, which is our case, we really believe that it's not a handicap, but actually is an edge that you can have in terms of growth and competition.
As Tomas mentioned, there are two Latin Americas, and depends on where you started, the plan for expansion might be different. For Spanish-speaking countries, you expand fast in different countries. If you are in Brazil, because of the market size, you probably should stay there. We started in São Paulo. São Paulo is like 20 million people, largest city. You can be just a unicorn just in the city. So it depends on really where you started. And I believe the opportunity is so relevant. I want to give you an example. In the US, because of different states' regulation, to get a license to be a health insurance in New York, it can be up to $300 million to get a license in New York. In Brazil, for $2 million, you can be licensed nationwide, like a single license. And it's the third largest market worldwide, along with the US and China. So there's, I believe, a few advantages regarding to regulation and market size. And really, the strategy will depend on where we started first. So that's it.
Excellent. So let me take a couple of the questions and combine them here from the audience. I think there is a theme here that it's about the challenge to sell to either people that did not have insurance or were not properly covered, and at what cost. If you are selling to sort of the bottom of the pyramid, the volumes are huge, but the tickets are small, right? So maybe, Tomas, since you are very large, or the largest life insurer in Chile at least, what is your view there? How difficult is it? Is it explaining the coverage? Is it going through a high volumes, low ticket? What is your view around that?
Okay, I think that's hard to answer, and that's one space in which we need more innovation to actually have the right product for that particular market. When you look at very low volumes of profit by each or very big number of people that have very small premiums, basically you need to be extremely efficient. And you need to be extremely efficient in terms of how do you explain a product that is usually very complex. So you need simple products with not a lot of exclusions. That the writing process needs to be very streamlined, and so on. So innovation is what allows you to actually achieve a product market fit where there was no product market fit before, because the cost of serving some segments are extremely high right now. And through partnering with some of the companies in our portfolio, we're aiming to do exactly that.
Excellent. Let me build on that, because there is a whole question about partnering between established players and startups. Many of them would have sort of the idea on how to address a given segment, and therefore address that segment at a reasonable price. What is your view? Let's start with you about how difficult it is for you, if that's your strategy, to work with established players in order to bring your technology to address some of the challenges of the go-to-market.
Yeah, so at Sofia, we took a very vertically integrated approach. So we are a carrier. And, you know, as has been mentioned here, like we also sell direct to our consumers. We reach out through through channels ourselves, and we don't work with brokers at the moment. And we think that is really, really important for our model. So that's what help us innovate and actually understand the underlying problems of our consumers. So we think that is critical. Now, we are integrated to certain parts of like, for example, we work with a reinsurer, right? And that has been critical for us because we've been able to bootstrap on their knowledge to just to get started and actually start learning out there through our product. So that has been critical.
Excellent. Thank you. For you, Tomas, because I guess you are clearly the person that creates the partnerships. How difficult is to do that in Latin America?
Very.
Right, that's very clear.
No. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because basically you have to deal with trust issues. You have to deal with different talent pools. You have to deal with different cultures, and you have to try to find some common ground in which you want to build something together. On top of everything that I mentioned before, so it's very hard to get that done. But I think it's fundamental. I mean, when you look at the need, and going back to the first question you asked in terms of the penetration of the market and how much we need to grow as an industry, you look at the insurance companies in the region and they usually don't have the talent to actually achieve that. They don't have talent that can innovate enough, fast enough, that don't have the right relationship with technology. They don't think mobile first, for example, as Sebastián was saying before. So if we want to achieve that, although it's very hard, we are convinced that we need to push in that direction.
Excellent.
And that means a big effort, that means committing resources, and that means committing to a strategy that won't pay over a short period of time. It is a long-term strategy.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. We are out of time, but thank you for all your answers, your interesting thoughts, and thank you to the audience for your time.